with the Nationals, they've had kind of Harper, they've had Zimmerman, just people kind of going down early. So, yeah, that gives other guys a chance to step up. But do you feel like, come June, July, these guys can finally show what we are at full strength?
Yeah, that definitely matters. Like the Braves have already beaten every member of the Nationals rotation, but the Nationals haven't had a chance to throw a fister out there at them. So that definitely matters. I think a lot of the lineup shuffling sort of stem from the fact that they've had so many guys out. It doesn't really excuse the fact that Harper's hitting like 7th against some teams. That seems a little extreme. But when you lose your opening day cleanup hitter, your opening day 5-hole hitter, Jason Worth, a 3 hitter, didn't play, and Span. I mean, those guys were all out for certain games against the Braves. So that matters too. That plays into it. But it's not the reason why they're losing. The Braves are just played better and seem like they are better right now. So,
here's my take on it, or how I look at it. It's so early in the season, but when you look at a team that is looked at or picked preseason to win a World Series. Now, this is second year straight that this team is being viewed that way. It certainly is early, but when you look at the talent, the one thing that I took from what you said, and I wonder, is when they're playing tight, it's still no supplement or no substitute for talent. So when they lose to a team, and they've consistently lost to the Braves the way that they have, how do you kind of find a way to do that? And can this manager put the people in the right places to be able to overcome that? Because if they're talented and Atlanta's talented, but we're looking at them and feeling as though Atlanta's more talented, then how does that change?
Yeah, and I think it's a good point to ask about the manager, because in some ways he also, I don't know if it was, you can say it was in his head, but he certainly sort of adjusted, like the rotation. He moved up Zimmerman and Strasburg when he didn't have to sort of get them, he said it was to get them an extra start. You want your top guys to, pitch as much as possible, so he moved them up when he had a chance to do an off day. But when he moved them up, he also sort of had them face the Marlins instead of the Braves. And so, you do wonder if he's sort of making concessions and making moves with the Braves in mind, and what the effect on the players is when you do that. Because if it's April 12th, if it's that early in the season, you're already sort of like planning out different strategies and different ideas to face one team. That's sort of more of like an NFL mentality almost, or like it's a long season, and to sort of be, have one team allow an opponent to shape what you're doing so early is pretty extreme. But then again, that's sort of been Williams' style. He sort of tries to seek small edges and will sort of like take the risk of like disrupting a sort of smooth operation to sort of get that one edge at a certain time. So that's sort of an interesting dynamic too, and like the polar opposite of what Davey Johnson did.
It certainly seems like everything he's doing is working against every other team, at least, not Atlanta.
Right.
But I want to ask about two other things. The Nationals are hitting the ball better than they have in years past, even when they won the division a couple years ago. They're third in batting in the major leagues right now. And then on the flip side, they're actually fielding pretty poorly, second most errors in the majors. Comment on that and which one of those surprises you more at this early stage of the season.
Yeah, it's so early, it's hard to sort of be surprised by anything just because, a lot of crazy things can happen in a small sample. I would say I'm not surprised that they're hitting so well. I'm a little surprised that they've hit so well despite the fact that they lost Ramos, despite the fact that, Harper had a really slow start. So I would say that's kind of a good sign that they have not been sort of firing on every cylinder, and they've still had a very good team offense. So, and the errors, a little bit is like, they've had, I think, 4 errors from their outfield. And so that's sort of fluky because, usually you get like, 10 errors from your outfield all year, really. Ryan Zimmerman's throwing issues contributed another 2 of those errors. He's injured. He's injured now, so he won't be making any more. And also he seemed to sort of stem that tide a little bit. So I don't know if either is like super surprising. I think the defensive errors seems to be more troubling in the long term than the hitting is positive in the long term, I would say. I think they're sort of there should be more urgency to sort of stop the defensive errors than there should be to sort of try to continue the hitting.
I want to ask one extra follow-up question because we'd be remiss because we don't have a chance to have you on the show very often. So if I ask the producers out a minute, the Zimmerman situation. When he comes back from that injury, what do you expect if the throwing errors continue? If he has another couple errors, What do you expect to happen in that regard as far as him possibly playing first base, how they move around LaRoche, that sort of thing? What do you expect?
I think basically the way they're handling it is the way they should handle it, which is keep him at third. Let him try the sort of new sidearm throwing motion he's got, and let it play out, and keep him there as long as it's tenable. If he cannot get the ball across the diamond, then that sort of drastic situation would force a drastic change. Otherwise, I think you just sort of let it play out. If he's playable at third base, then your best lineup has LaRoche at first and Zimmerman at third, and Espinosa coming off the bench. That's sort of where your strongest team is. And it just forces, if you decide we have to move Ryan Zimmerman before he sort of forces you to do that, then you're sort of raising a lot of other issues and problems, and a lot of sort of contingencies, and you sort of have to make a lot of pieces fit that you wouldn't otherwise. So I think the simplest and the best thing to do is just what they're doing, which is have them at third until they basically have no other choice.
And do you think that's
it might be painful?
Are they gonna, what happens if they don't have a choice?
I couldn't. It's hard to say.
It's hard to
he's
speculate.
done it before. Last year it seemed like he was going to
Yeah.
be moved, and then he pulled together, and that's sort of what it really helped them in their last month, and they were so good is that he was playing better at third and hitting like crazy. So
Yeah, his bat, you can't get that out of the lineup.
Yeah,
you
it's
got
just
to
you gotta
figure out
play
a
out
way to
of it.
keep it in.